Hello, so welcome and happy International Women's Day, and welcome to the launch of Inspiring Girls Tanzania. So Inspiring Girls is a global network that aims to inspire girls by giving them a wide range of positive role models. So we're really pleased to have the first meeting of the Tanzanian branch. That myself, Janet Chapman from Tanzania Development Trust, and Rhobi from Hope for Girls and Women, who you'll hear from very shortly, are chairing. So we're hoping that this is going to be a monthly event where you'll hear from inspiring girls, inspiring women from Tanzania. So if people have got ideas of women they would like to hear from in the future, then please let us know. Okay, so firstly, we're going to hear from three very inspiring Tanzanian women today: Rhobi Samwelly, Catherine Kimambo, and Rebeca Gyumi. And I'm going to pass over to them to introduce themselves in a couple of sentences, and then we're going to start the discussion. So Rhobi, would you like to go first?
Yes, thank you very much, Janet. My name is Rhobi Samwelly. I'm the founder and the director of Hope for Girls and Women in Tanzania. I'm also FGM survivor.
Thank you. Catherine.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Catherine Richard Kimambo. I am a founder and executive director of African Child Project. It's a 100% youth-led organization. We work on different projects in rural areas, including technology, trying to see how we can bridge the gap between Africa and the world. I think that's our slogan, that's our vision and mission, and how are we transforming communities? That's our number one priority. As you're seeing in the back, we are here on the preparing for the launch of the School Connectivity Project, which will be launched tomorrow with Vodacom Tanzania Foundation. So very excited to join you, though my network might be cutting off now and then, but this is very, very inspiring, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot from you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And Rebeca.
Thank you, Janet. Apologies, I won't be able to be on camera. I have a terrible cold and my face is not very pleasing this time, but my name is Rebeca Gyumi. I'm a human rights activist and lawyer. I lead a girls' rights organization called Msichana Initiative. We work at the intersection of advocacy, protection and response, but also empowerment for girls in Tanzania. We believe in the power that adolescent girls have to unleash their potential. And so we work holistically to ensure girls' agency is enhanced and girls are actually inspired to unleash their potential. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Rebeca. And Rebeca, maybe you could tell us what has been your greatest success so far?
I think for me personally is to be able to see the idea that we birthed 7 years ago come into fruition, that, creating a platform where girls' rights in Tanzania could actually be advocated, but also promote girls' resilience, in the rights that are very important to them. But second, I would say is the work that we've been around to really promote the legal reforms, the policy and legal reforms in the country. As an organization, we have been around the work to challenge the Law of Marriage Act, which allowed girls to be married as young as 14. We take that as a success, but also the work around ensuring girls who are out of school are able to continue with their education by leveling the policy environment, and also generally creating platforms where girls could actually come and voice out, their demand, stand up and speak out for their rights. I think for me, those continues to be the greatest success or achievement. The fact that I'm able to see even one girl have she's conscious about her rights, and she's able to stand up and speak out for her rights. And then if that then is able to be translated as a collective action, and girls are able to come together collectively and demand for their rights. For me, those have been some of the beautiful fruits that I'm very proud of to date within Msichana Initiative.
Fantastic. Yes, thank you so much. So Rhobi, the same question to you. What do you think has been your greatest career success so far?
My greatest career success is promoting girls and women in my community. By educating our community about the effects of gender-based violence, and especially traditions and the customs which are hindering girls and the women's rights, like female genital mutilation, early child marriage, women inheritance, etc. But also, I can say, by challenging my community to fight against gender-based violence and establish safe houses in order to protect the girls who are free from female genital mutilation, the girls who have already educated about the effects of female genital mutilation, and they are forced by their parents, so they get the opportunity to run to the safe house and be protected. I can say protecting the girls from female genital mutilation is something which is very, very valuable for me. And I see that these girls, they may continue forward working very hard in order to reach their dreams, as I see with their dreams of becoming doctors, lawyers, etc. So I can say, if I will see a girl continue with her studies, continue in order to reach her dream, for me is a great success, because I see these girls will be our ambassadors who will be standing strongly, defending for their families, for their children, and other women and men in the community. Another success is like when I see we empower women and girls, how these women could stand for themselves with an entrepreneurship skills in order for them to use the skills which they gain to start some business in order to generate income. I know if women and the girls are empowered economically, they will be strong. And these women, they will stand strongly in their families to defend for their daughters, even if their husbands are challenging them that they must cut their daughters, so they have to be married for them to receive some cows, to turn cows into cash, to solve some family problems. These women will be strongly stand forward that they will make some profit, and they will do a little the way they can in order to support their daughters to continue with their studies and reach their dreams. So for me, rescuing the girls from female genital mutilation, that is my greatest success.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rhobi. Catherine, same question to you. What has been your greatest career success so far?
So for me, I think I've had a lot of aha moments along the journey. One of them, I think at the top of my list, is for us to really challenge ourselves that it can be done. Because, okay, you asked me to turn on my video, but my network is very unstable. I'll try and see how it happens. I've been logged out twice, so fingers crossed.
Never mind. Apologies.
Yeah. So I think for me, our greatest success has been really challenging the status quo, that really youth can really be the center of innovation. Youth can really be and do something tangible in the communities, because in the past, when you speak of youth, you just think that these people are all about TikTok and just show up on social media and nothing tangible. And so since African Child is 100% youth-led organization, I think for us really putting our names up there in the map and showing that it can be done, youth can be taken seriously, and we can really do something of impact in our communities is what I'm grateful for. And then I think then again, leading to the work that we do with African Child projects, see impact that the school connectivity project has done in the communities. I think we've been to schools that are the hardest to connect schools in rural areas. You take 3 different types of transport to reach to certain schools. And I think being there, visualizing it and seeing it happening, I think for the first time, that was a big of aha moment to us. It can transform from not knowing what a computer is to interacting with the computer, them learning this, the mouse, computer parts, is something that's in urban areas. Let's take it for granted, but students in rural areas are really seeing these things for the first time, and it's a big transformation, I think, in the education sector as a whole. But then again, I think the biggest achievement has been from my end, because I've never studied computer science or anything IT related, leading and championing IT related projects and being in the center of discussions around ICT and how ICT can be an integral part in education, and how can we learn and use ICT in our learning, I think, in Tanzania as a whole, and seeing how the ministries and different stakeholders come together to be a part of this vision that we had, I think, way back 2019. African Child Project is in 3 years of its operation. And I'm very proud of the team and the stakeholders who have believed in the vision, come together with us to see this vision come to life. I think for me, my 3 cents are the team, how far I have changed myself as an individual, like coming from not knowing anything about ICT, just the basic, to championing such projects and really challenging the core about youth and what youth can do and what youth cannot do. I think the youth voices on the table, make sure that the agenda for youth are really being spoken and our voices are there, and who are listening to us, taking us seriously. That's the biggest success for me.
Thank you, Catherine. Amazing. And on a personal level, I totally understand the difficulty getting to some of the schools that you've connected. Behind me is actually girls going to Ikondo school, which you have connected recently. Luckily, I don't think you had to go to school on a boat like this when you visited. But yes, that is the reality. Thank you. And for people, if anyone has any questions for the panelists, please do put them in the chat. So the next question is, what is the biggest challenge you've had to overcome, and how did you do that? Catherine, do you want to go first?
Yes. So the biggest challenge for me so far has been, I think, being first of all, a woman in a very male-dominated industry. I would still say ICT is male-dominated industry. All industries are male-dominated. I in the sector I work on, the ICT, very male-dominated. I think for the most women I meet in these sectors, women who are tough. I think you have to be tough to get through in this sector. So I think starting off when I don't know anything about anything concerning ICT, it was very hard to get by. And I really took a lot of mentorship from different people in different stages of my life. I think the best mentor I had so far was Professor Joseph Knoll. He's the one who saw us from the get-go and saw the vision and really bought into the vision. And he is the one who said, you believe in this vision, you're going to be the one to speak about it. So before I just thought that I just have the vision and someone will be there to speak about it, so I don't have the experience. So he's the one who sat me down and said, you're going to learn everything there is to know about this program, and you are going to be the face of the project. And so that was really a challenge, I think, for me. And then again, for a project such as controversial and that involves a lot of stakeholders as ICT in Tanzania, I think then again, different people from government sectors, different stakeholders. I think having people really understand what you're about as being a youth, and people really saying, okay, these people are serious, they really want to do this. Because again, with being a youth, one day you believe in A, the next day you want to do B, the next day it's exciting or appealing thing to do. But for them to really see that this is something that they really want to do and they believe in this, having people buy into our vision. So I think the biggest challenge has been funding for us as a youth-led organization. This is our third year of operation. I think the first 2 years were very tough. Getting the right mentors, having the right skills on how to approach funders and donors. I think building a team has been the hardest so far, because again, this is a non-profit, have staff who most of them get paid. So again, I am from school, don't have any experience on building a team or team management. So the first few years were very tough. Don't have funding, don't have the right team, don't have the right skills. I think I would still go back to the point of mentorship. That has been the thing that has carried us through. And it has gotten us to a point where we are able to function well as a team through the different
Oops. Okay, I think she's dropped because of poor connectivity. So, Rhobi, maybe you can answer the same question. What was the biggest challenge you've had to overcome? How did you do it? And have you also benefited from having a mentor?
Oh, sorry, my network just got off, but you guys can just...
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Rhobi.
Yes. Thank you, Janet. What I can say, the challenges which I have experienced on my work, the first thing is that a woman from my community whom challenging this tradition of female genital mutilation, the tradition which seems most of the women and men in my community, they see like it's a good thing. But for me, I see like it's something which it's not good, the way it is affected the girls not to reach their dreams. So when I was cut, really, it was a very big challenge for me because I didn't want, but I was forced to undergo female genital mutilation. And the way I grow and try to overcome this challenge, I can say, is to start an intervention of combating gender-based violence and this female genital mutilation by educating my community, but also starting the safe houses in order to protect the girls. That was the way I think I could help many girls not to continue to undergo the practice which like it had happened to me. And some challenges on my work is that receiving some threats from people, from most of some traditional leaders, and those parents whom they are still holding this tradition of female genital mutilation and early child marriage. When they see me like their enemy, and they see me like someone who is not doing a good job, a good program in order to support girls. They threaten me like I lost, like I have lost on my way. That is how they think, and they talk to people. This woman, she's not respecting our culture like that. But I can see the effects of it. And through my work, I can see the way I overcome that is to continue to support those who are supporting our work, but also to continue to create awareness to the community using different approaches in order for them to change their attitude. Also, running of safe houses, it is a challenge. It is a challenge, and especially when you receive many girls and you have the budget, a limited budget of maybe a certain number of the survivors. So this is also challenging my work. How could I survive? How could I continue this work of protecting the girls if they want to be protected and they knew already the effects of female genital mutilation in my community? But I keep forward by trying to talk to different people, also getting support from different friends, from donors who they support, and they are against this tradition of female genital mutilation in order to continue to help girls to reach their dreams and to continue to reduce the effects of gender-based violence and female genital mutilation in my community. So I thank those who are supporting our work because, you know, dealing with the issue of the culture, it's something which is not changing in a hurried way. It is a slow changing of attitude. It needs time. It needs time. So most of international organizations or people, they want something which is changing in maybe in a short time. But the changing of culture, it's something which is taking longer. But I'm dreaming that one day FGM, female genital mutilation, will be the history in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhobi. So it's inspiring. Okay, and Rebecca, what would you say has been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome so far?
Thank you so much, Janet. I think just listening to fellow women is alluding to how similar, you know, our challenges as women being born in African setting are quite similar. And so I think for me, I would just mention three. I think one challenge was more about finding myself and finding my voice. And then the two probably more around when I was already in that journey with Msichana Initiative, and of course the challenges around the work that I was doing. So the first one was really about, you know, understanding myself. I think growing up, I had many voices around who I could actually be as a person. And that was a challenge because I think it took me time to really find my voice, my conviction, and say, this is really who I am, and I'll stick to it. And unfortunately, it's also a challenge for many girls and young women in our community because we grow up to be told and be labeled so many names, you know, before you know it, somebody's already calling you my future wife, I'll come and pay a dowry to you. Before you know it, somebody will already, you know, look at you and say, you're just going to be a mother, you know, to children. So to your children. So I think growing up, those many voices and the walls that were created around who I was as a person, I really had to redefine, and I had to I was able to redefine, to define that by actually looking at some of the role models that were present in my community. I think I'm very proud of the women that I grew up with, especially from the church that I went to. They were quite powerful, very transformative. I think for me, I came to learn about feminism later, but looking back, growing up, I think to me, these were quite bold women who really stood up for girls' education. And one of them actually was quite influential to me because I remember when I passed Form 4 examination going to high school, she literally called me, took the join instruction, took me to each shop, you know, carrying my hand and bought everything for me. And she said, I want you to study. So for me, such women are quite powerful because they continue to ground my resolve and my conviction that actually who I was as a person meant more than just how the society and the community actually were telling me. And then the two challenges, I would say they're linked a bit to when I started working. So because of the nature of the work that I am doing and how we started with the strategic litigation, challenging the government around the Law of Marriage Act in Tanzania, I found myself, and especially also at that time, we had a different context in Tanzania. I found myself facing a lot of backlash in the form also of online bullying, because from, people from all sects, be it religious or just conservative, would come and just say whatever that they feel they wanted to say in regard to what I was doing. So as a young woman who was finding my voice, but also trying to put my foot down in regard to what I thought was important, that moment was not easy for me. I found myself, in some episodes of, I wouldn't say depression, but some sort of like anxiety, because really it was such a tough moment. And how I dealt with that, I really had to go back to my support system and learn what was important, but also fuel myself with the words from the people who were around me, but also limit how I engage with the social media. So instead of consuming every comment and take it literally, I had to learn by force that people can say whatever that they want to say, but I should be the one allowing what actually gets to me. And also develop a thick skin in a way on how I engage with, because I still want to use social media as a medium to advocate for my cause or the cause that we believe in. But, how I'm engaging with it, I had to be a bit, I had to change that a little bit. And that actually involved also talking to a mentor. So my mentor is Mama Rusimbi. Maybe people like Rhobi and others might know her. She's a very known feminist women's rights activist in Tanzania. And I think she really grounded me around, how it was important to ensure that, my cup was full, how to not burn my candle so that, I can give light to others while I was not taking care of myself. So issues around self-care, and how I'm taking care of myself, my mental health. She really strengthened that perception to me, and I'm very glad for that. And the last challenge, and that's why I say being women, I think we're very similar. I think balancing work and life as a wife, and also expected to go back home to ensure everything is okay. I think I struggled at the beginning to really give it all. And I think that's also the challenge with women. Like we all want to be super women, an idea that I also have a problem with, because I think it really encourages burnout, because women want to be good in everything, while in essence, life can actually not be like that sometimes. So if I was at work and then how am I going back to, what time am I going back to my house, and how am I taking care of my house, feeling guilty. I think that was such a challenge as I was growing the organization, and at the same time, I was part of the family. So how I managed that, I think I had to start appreciating the role of supporters in my system, that I cannot do it all, and I should be contented that there are things that I will not be able to do, and allow myself to have supporters in my life who can actually feed in some of the roles, and that's okay too. But also I'll start having conversation with my partner around how we are helping each other, especially with the gender roles, and ensuring that we're able to really become full as partners. So I don't know if that would be relevant here, but I think for me, those have been quite significant challenges, and that's how I was able to navigate, and maybe I'm still navigating through them. Yeah, but thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Fantastic. So, Rebecca, what was the best piece of advice that you've ever been given? You're muted.
I would say the best piece of advice that I was ever given or received was around self-image. So education for me was quite transformative. As a girl, as a young woman, growing up in a community where I think there are a lot of definition around who we can be and our potential. So the best advice actually I got was the most transformative force actually of education for me was how it actually changed my self-image. You know, I learned on how I'm actually not who I've been told I am, but also I have right that I need to accept, defend, and reject, and also reject the low self-image that the society has imposed on me. And that advice was based on the fact that if my self-image did not change, then going to school for me would not have changed the oppressive culture. Because at the end of the day, I'll be using the skills that I got through education to serve the social norms, which will continue to keep me and others down. So I think for me, if I am to relay the same message to wonderful girls who are listening in this session today, is really strengthen how you see yourself, your power within, because, you know, that's your conviction and nobody's going to take that away from you. We might be defined, there might be a lot of definition around who we are as girls, as young women, but the minute you learn about yourself and the power that you have, then you are limitless. And the idea of you becoming like Rhobi, like Janet, like anyone really is possible and really, really valid. So really invest in your self-image, how you see yourself, how you talk to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't allow people to speak things to you, you know? So I think to me that still stands as one of the best advice I've ever been given.
Thank you. That's amazing advice, amazing advice for everyone. Rhobi, any other? What's the best piece of advice that you had? Maybe on a slightly different. You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, thank you. The best piece of advice for me, the first thing is the way I was advised by my teachers about how I should keep working hard with my studies. Really, I can say the teachers they advised me to make sure I work hard with my studies in order to reach my dream. And they told me that you need, in order for you to solve some challenges surrounding yourself, you need to be educated. You need to continue and to reach the studies the level you want to reach. And really, from my community, the way I will see the work load of women and the girls in my family, that was challenging. I was asking myself, how am I going, this way am I going to live in my community with this a lot of working, and only girls, they have to work very hard with the homeworks, going to the farm, milking in the morning, fetching water, and we walk long distance going to fetch some water. So when I was advised by my teachers, they said, in order for you, Rhobi, to solve these problems, you need to study very hard so that your education will come to solve some problems in your family. And also you may help the community. And they were normally advising me by quoting some quotes from Mwalimu Nyerere, quotes which he was presenting, and most of teachers, they use that those quotes in order to advise or to motivate students. So for me, really, it was touching my heart, and really, I would like to say that was the best piece of advice for me as a young girl, to work very hard with my studies and in order to reach my dream, where I was dreaming with the two things. I said, if I will become a pilot, I will be happy. But also I dreaming, if I fail to become a pilot, I have to be a professor teaching university. So I hold that very much. And that advice, although challenging me very much when I was escaping home, going to town, running female genital mutilation, I feel who will help to pay my school fees, because I know I will continue with my secondary education. In that situation, I went back home and I was cut. Another piece of advice is on, I was advised to work very hard and to work straight without listening to some foolish advice as a young girl. I have to stand strong myself so that I reach what I want to get. Because in my community, there is a lot of things. Some young men, some men, all the men, they want to marry young girls. So the way I was advised by teachers, Rhobi, you need to stick in one thing. Do not think of other ideas which will make you lose from your way. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Rhobi. Amazing as always. All right, so far we've had stay strong, work hard, be kind to yourself. Catherine, any other best pieces of advice that you've received?
So yes, as Robin and Rebecca were speaking, I'm reminded of this famous jingle by Clouds, I think. They used to sing something in the lines of tunakufungulia dunia kuwa unachotaka. So it's more of we open the world to you, be who you want to be. So I started off, I think, seeing the world as a playing field where anything is possible. So I still believe that up until now. I still believe anyone can do anything and achieve great results at the end of the day. It just depends on your drive, your motivation, how passionate are you about what you believe. And soon or later, people will just see the passion through you and join you in your vision. So don't be afraid to start. Don't be afraid to go on the road less traveled, because for us as founders, as pioneers, I think as Rebecca and Robin, we've traveled the road less traveled. And then it's a very lonely road at times, but still we're paving the way for the coming generations to see that it's possible through us. And I think the other piece of advice that I have got from a very young age was to have a mentor at every stage of my life. So from a very young age, I have had different sets of mentors, from my uncle mentoring me from I think from the beginning of my secondary schools, to having my first job as I finished my Form 6 studies with a mentor then and there. And I think going on through different careers, different phases of my life, I've had mentors, people who have taught me the way, people who have been there, who have had enormous amount of knowledge to share, who have willingly, carried me or held my hand to the different rooms that I've been in. These have been people who have carried me through different stages of life. So I don't believe in doing it on your own. I believe you can find people who are out there who have knowledge to mentor you, to coach you. So you shouldn't just reinvent the wheel every now and then. Just learn from the people who have gone before you. There's a lot of knowledge that is there. And also just see the world as a playing field where there's enough for everyone, where you can learn You can start anything, and anything is possible. I think if you believe it. I think those are the pieces of advices that I've gotten throughout my career journey, my life journey, and any other journey that I have embarked on, and they have carried me through all the processes, all the challenges which we have faced through I think our operations and any other challenge that we have faced. These advices have carried us through.
Fantastic, thank you. Any last word of advice for the girls who are listening today from everyone? Catherine?
Oh, from everyone. Okay, so I'll be very brief. I think it's all about a change in mindset, because I'm working with a lot of girls in different projects that we work on, and they're still very shy in regards to saying what they believe, to bringing their ideas forward. You might find even a girl in our classrooms, they know an answer to a question, but they still not raise a hand, and then you have a lot of boys raising hands even if they don't have the right answers. So I think girls they should just build their confidence, trust themselves more. Don't be afraid of being wrong or of failing, because failure is a part of the learning journey. So just put yourself out there.
Thank you. Rhobi, last word of advice? You're muted.
Thank you. Addition to what she has said, the girls, they need to be of courage, to be courageous girls, so that they try, they to have confidence, to be courageous, also to be strong girls. Strong girls, they may try the things at the right time, using their time properly, and to trust for themselves that what they are doing is, so that in order for them to succeed, they need to work hard. Advise them to work hard, uh, to respect each other, and it's something very nice, because everyone have something to help someone. I don't know if they could understand what I mean. Everyone have something which uh, Adija, she don't have. But so through respecting each other, we could have good time. Our ideas, all learn from each. So, like to say, they also need to stay, to stand in the right way. They need to focus on what they believe that this is right. I'm working hard because they like to become a doctor. So they have be straight. Be straight means have to focus on the idea they have, and moving from with the other not good. They may not to reach what they become, not to get what they want. Thank you.
Thank you. Any last words of advice, Rebeca?
So for me, I will say, if you forget everything I say, remember these 3 words: jitambue, jiamini, kuwa na ndoto kubwa. Because self-awareness for you will be important, because at the end of the day, as girls, challenges should not define us. We have the ability to shape and change the course of our life by looking at challenges as opportunities in disguise. And also in the confidence, I think I like this quote from Marianne Williamson, She's a poet. She would normally say, each time a woman stands up for herself without knowing, without claiming it, she stands up for all women. So be confident in yourself. And the last one is have a dream, really. And my favorite slogan that I like to tell girls, and I'll tell you today, take it, is a girl with a dream is fire. Msichana mwenye ndoto ni moto. So go ahead and have those big dreams. Thank you.
Fantastic, Rebecca, so inspiring. Well, I'm hoping that some girls at the Safe House have some good questions for us in a moment. So Daniel, maybe you can be preparing some in a minute. But before that, there's an interesting question from Sean, which I think Rhobi and Rebecca have some experience of, which is about, there's a lot of deep issues around cultural norms, FGM, child marriage that you've been discussing today. How can you best introduce that into a formal school setting? Like, how can you talk to girls in government schools about these issues in a way that is inclusive and doesn't alienate the government and the local leaders? Rhobi, would you like to start with that?
Thank you for the question, which asked by someone about this norms and traditions like early child marriage and female genital mutilation. How could we introduce it to schools? I can say in a real example, like from Hope for Girls, we have school programs where we reach schools. We create awareness to students about the effects of these female genital mutilation, early child marriages, and we normally also formulate some we call anti-FGM clubs to schools, where these students are joining the clubs, but also we train teachers to schools on how they could support to run those clubs to their schools. And I could say that it's through these school clubs, the teachers are helping us to identify the girls who are at risk of being cut in their to their families. The girls are getting opportunity to report to their teachers about the situation, about the risk for themselves, and how their families are planning to cut them. So they report, and then in collaboration with their teachers, they report to the police gender desk office, and then the gender desk office, they rescue the girls from school, and so that to protect them. That is one way of working with the schools, and this is allowed in our schools through our local government authorities in the area, and they give us a good collaboration to work on that. So we have school programs, but also we have community outreach programs. These are programs which targeting people around in the community and targeting groups like traditional leaders, community leaders, religious leaders, women in their groups, but also even girls who are out of school. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhobi. Rebecca, would you like to add anything to this?
Thank you, Janet. I think I'll just be quick.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'll just be quick, I think, because many of what Dada Rhobi has mentioned it really is somewhat similar strategies, because we all work around changing norms and culture in our communities. So we also have in-school programs, out-of-school programs, but also community platforms where we work with community members as change makers or leaders of change for girls. So for in-school clubs, we have about 52 of them in the 4 regions where we are working. And we really work to ensure, girls and boys are actually transformed around their understanding on gender equality, but also how they're actually supporting each other with empathy when it comes to issues of sexual and gender-based violence. We also work with out-of-school girls. We have about 40 groups of out-of-school girls in Kongwa, in Nzega, Tabora, because we also know children in our country is not a homogeneous group. Like we have some who are in school and some who are out of school. And if you need to shape them, you need to work with all of them. Our in-school clubs are only in primary school because we think catching them while young is important. But for out of school, we have a strategy that we call it Msichana Cafes. So these are community platforms where community, without regarding age, gender, level of economy, they come together to champion rights of girls in their communities. And we have about 44 of these platforms in the 4 regions where we are operating. And one of the best practice for me has been, for instance, the cafes in Bahi district, where the community members, after really being engaged and understood what they really need to do around prevention and response, they were behind the enactment of bylaw in collaboration with their ward councillors. And that bylaw is actually operating at the moment. So for me, those are some of the great examples of social engineering where if you're able to work with communities as change makers, then change, as Dada Rhobi said, even if it's slow, but really you are assured that, change will actually happen. Yeah. And actually be sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. That's fantastic. Right. I'm hoping that, Daniel, can you switch your video on? And I'm hoping that some of the girls at the Safe House have got some questions for our panel. Do you have any questions or any comments on what you've heard? What you've heard today? You're muted. Okay.
Yeah, they have questions and some comments.
Okay. Please go ahead. Yeah. Who is starting? Hi, go ahead.
Yes.
What is your question or comment?
On this day, you are going to.
You can speak in Swahili if you want to.
Yes. Kwa kupitia siku ya leo wanawake duniani, nimefurahia.
Rhobi, do you want to comment on this?
Swali langu liko hivi. Kwa kupitia siku ya leo wanawake duniani, nimefurahiaje?
Kwa kupitia nani?
Siku ya leo wanawake duniani. Nyie mmefurahiaje?
Tunaifanyaje?
Kwa kupitia siku ya leo wanawake duniani, nyie kama nyie mmefurahiaje?
Yeah, I think she meant that to have this day of Women's Day as personal. How do you feel it? Because it's like in those days before, it was position of woman, it was not really clear, but now there is there is like now people understand and know the position of a woman. So by using this day, what do you feel now?
Okay, so the importance of International Women's Day, maybe. Rhobi, would you like to answer?
I would like to answer in Swahili.
Yes, go ahead.
Siku ya wanawake duniani kwa kweli ni siku ambayo tunaifurahia kama wanawake kwanza, kwa maana ni siku ambayo inatupa nafasi sisi kama wanawake kuwasilisha mbali na keza katia uchumi jamii, na ndio maana maadhimisho haya ya siku ya wanawake duniani kwanza nafasi kupata zile kauli kupata vitu maarifa mapya ambayo tunatakiwa kuyazingatia. Kwa mfano, tunazo kauli mbiu. Najua kauli mbiu ya mwaka huu inasema nini. Kupitia kauli mbiu hiyo, basi kama wanawake tuna nafasi ya kuangalia ni jinsi gani sisi wanawake tunajihusisha ili kuweza kutimiza yale yaliyotajwa katika kauli mbiu. Kwa mfano, tunasema labda uchumi wa viwanda. Kumbe kama wanawake tuna fursa pia ya kuweza kuanzisha katika kutatua matatizo na changamoto zinazozunguka jamii yetu, ama sisi wenyewe kuamua kiuchumi. Kwa maana kwamba zamani tumekuwa tukielewa kwamba wanaofanya kazi kwenye viwanda hasa ni wanaume, wanabaguliwa kazi kadha, lakini duniani katika nchi yetu ya Tanzania tunapewa kauli mbiu mbalimbali, na kauli hizi mbalimbali inasaidia wafanye na kuwaongezea wanawake uelewa ili waweze kukabiliana na kutatua changamoto zinazotuzunguka. Tunaposema uchumi wa viwanda sasa hivi na wanawake nao au fanya.
Thank you, Rhobi. We seem to be losing you a bit, and we're pretty much. Thank you. Okay, we're pretty much out of time, so thank you. Rebeca and Catherine, would you like to add anything briefly about the importance of International Women's Day?
I think Rhobi has put it very well. I will probably not add anything really. She has really summarized it very well. Yeah. Okay. And also in Swahili, which I think we were all supposed to actually speak, knowing our audience was listening to us. Asante dada Rhobi.
Catherine? Okay, I'd just like to thank our three amazing panelists, and we're hoping to make this a monthly event, so it will be great to hear from people who they would like to hear from next month. I will circulate the recording to everyone who registered, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Janet. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, girls, and all participants.